Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host as always, Daniel Levi, and joining me on this very special edition of Half the Battle is the one and only smiling Sam Alvey. Sam, welcome to Half the Battle, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, man. It's my pleasure. And you're known for that big right hand, man. You got that one hitter quitter. When did you first find out that you could put people down like that?
I don't know. It just kind of came. I mean, I guess my second amateur fight, I dropped the boy pretty hard. But it never really clicked. I just got in there and did what I did, and now I've got 17 knockouts.
Yeah, so it was never something that happened before you started your career. You found out in your first amateur fight, like, wow, I can crack?
Yeah, and I never really thought much of it. It eventually turned into a habit.
Yeah, and speaking of habits, there are pros and cons to having that kind of style because, for example, the pros are you can knock anyone out with one punch, but the cons are, some dudes can out-volume you, they can out-point you, and if it goes to decision, it might be a risk to rely on that one punch. So what's your perspective on that?
Well, as you see, I've got 6 losses. I believe 5 of them are due to decision. So but I've won a bunch of decisions as well. So I don't know. I like my style. I think it makes more fans than the guys that hit real soft. And I'm every fight I'm going out to try and finish them. I'm never fighting for a decision.
Well, that's definitely one of the reasons the fans love you. And I mean, you had a lot of experience before you got into the UFC. Obviously, you're the MFC champion, and you fought in Bellator. I mean, how invaluable was that experience before you got to the big show?
Yeah, it was great. I've never really been nervous fighting, but at this point, I fought so many times between my kickboxing and my amateur and my fighting. I've got like over 50 fights, and then I've got a bunch of pancreation stuff too. But I don't count that on my over 50 fights. So.
Yeah, and your body's still feeling great?
It's feeling like it is.
Yeah, there you go. So, I want to talk about some of this pre-UFC experience because, you went to Mexico, you fought Augusto Montano, you fought in Auckland, New Zealand. What's it like taking on these guys in their hometowns?
I love it. I have such a good time traveling. I've always taken my pay in the form of I get to see everything. I've been around the world twice. I fought around the world. I've gotten to speak and train with people from everywhere, and I just love it.
And I know there's a bunch of cool places you've been to, and you probably don't want to say your favorite because you don't want to make others jealous. So maybe tell us your top 3 favorite places you've been to in the world that aren't named the United States.
Well, the United States tops the list, but I loved Australia. I'm going to fight back in Australia someday. I don't know when exactly, but it's going to happen. Brazil was also fun. And see where else. You know what? I've got so many fans in Canada. I love fighting in front of the Canadian crowd.
And speaking of fighting in front of the Canadian crowd, I got a lot of questions to ask you, but we might as well get into it. You are fighting Elias Theodorou in Canada. First of all, how pumped are you for that fight?
Oh, I'm stoked. I've been calling him out for more than a year now. And he's been saying no, I'm not going to fight him. No, in the Canadian accent. No, I don't want to fight that guy. But he finally got it. He lost his last fight, and it was a hell of a fight. He went out on his shield. But I'm guessing he doesn't get the say like he used to now that he's lost.
Right. And speaking of that fight, man, I watched it last night again. Prior to coming into this interview, I wanted to be prepared. And, dude, what about that guy Thiago Moreta in your weight class? Oh, my God.
Yeah, my weight class is so scary. There's a list of people I want to fight, and there's a really big list of people I don't want to fight.
Yeah, I know. I feel that, man. So, speaking of Elias, we know what he wants to do. Obviously, he probably wants to grind you out on the feet. He's got a volume style, and then obviously he likes to grind things out. We know you want to knock him out. So, in your mind, do you think it's going to be a first-round knockout, or are you expecting a 3-round war? Like, what goes on in Sam Alvey's mind before this fight?
No, I never expect a first-round knockout. I'm such a slow starter. I say that, but then I've got a lot of first-round knockouts. But I really am a slow starter. So I've been working on it since my UFC debut, not starting so slow. But I don't anticipate a first-round knockout, but I do expect a really good first round. I expect to set the pace for the rest of the fight and I know he's got conditioning for days, as do I. So for 3 rounds, it is going to be a fight of the night.
And you mentioned you've been calling him out for a while. How come?
It's just a great name. He's got a style that I think leads to fight of the night, and that's who I want to fight. My paychecks are great, but that extra $50,000 is even better. And he's a style that I think the two of us could very easily get. Well, I could very easily get knockout of the night, but the two of us could get fight of the night pretty easy.
Yeah, definitely, man. And we're all looking forward to that fight. Now, I want to backtrack a little bit. I want to talk about your experience on The Ultimate Fighter because that's the first time I was ever exposed to you. You know, I saw you take on Leo Kuntz, and oh my God, like whenever I show my friends, I'm like, dude, you got to check out this guy, Sam Alvey. I always show them that fight because that's a perfect introduction to what you're capable of. So when you dropped that big right hand on him and he went down, what was going through your mind, man?
It's funny. My buddy Tom Galicchio, he chokes people out. I've got 17 knockouts. He's got like 14 rear naked chokes. And he said, oh, choking people's way better. I said, no, not knocking people out is way better. And you just feel it from that second you touch. You just know it's over. The Samoan boy, he's real good at it. Hunt. He's got that just one knockout where he just hits him and he knows it's over. And Kuntz was just one of those fights. I made contact and I knew that's all there was.
Yeah, that's all she wrote, man. So, okay, so you're one of the only guys in the UFC besides Mark Hunt that does the walk-off knockouts. Now, when you drop them with that one punch, I mean, in your mind, are you like, all right, he's done? Is there no urgency to follow up, or do you know right away he's done?
It depends on the punch. That fight, yeah, that was I knew he was done. And actually, my 2 fights just before it, I believe it was Daniel Almeida and Lopez, was the same thing. It was one hit where I just hit him and walked away. And sometimes you feel it. Sometimes Cesar, that took 2 punches. I dropped him and I probably could have walked away, but I wanted to make sure.
Well, that was in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. So it was probably a good call to follow up there.
Yeah, especially. For the most part, I like following up. I think it looks cooler when you get a couple extra shots in there. The Dan Henderson on Michael Bisping thing, he was out, but it was the H-bomb was born.
Yeah.
But if I can make that contact, you kind of feel it just instantly that it's what is going to end the fight.
Yeah, and speaking of your boy Dan Hendo, obviously we all know you guys have trained together for years. What's it like training with a guy like that, and how does he hold back that H-bomb, man? How do you not take a lot of damage in training?
I wear really big headgear. Yeah, no, it's so humbling training with Dan because he's 46 years old and he can just beat us all probably at the same time if he wanted to. He's just better than people, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, man, and he's actually rematching Machida. The first fight was super close. How do you see the rematch going down, man? You know what?
That first fight, the judges got it wrong. Dan won that fight. Machida ran for 15 minutes, legitimately ran for 15 minutes. And you know what? If Machida wants to fight like that again, he's got a chance to win. But if he has any kahunas, he's gonna step up and try and fight this time, and he'll lose that every time.
So in a real fight, Dan Hendo wins. In a point match, Machida wins.
Yeah.
All right, well, we hope for a real fight because, that's what the fans like to see, right?
That's what the fans want. That's what Dan is looking for.
That's what Dan or Dana? Sorry, I missed that.
Dan.
Oh, okay.
Hendo.
Yeah, for sure. And probably Dana, too. He wants an exciting knockout.
Probably Dana, yeah.
Yeah, so you make your UFC debut against Tom Watson, and it's interesting because that fight, I told a lot of my friends, like I showed them the Leo Kuntz knockout. I was like, this guy's making his UFC debut. You got to check him out. He's got ridiculous power. So first 2 rounds go by, and I feel like you were kind of like, hey, I'm in the UFC now. Like, welcome to the big show. But then that 3rd round, that's when you let it go. So why didn't you let it go the first 2 rounds?
It's that slow starting in me. That was the first non-title fight I had fought in a while. And so I didn't have the 5 rounds. Round 1, I did almost nothing. I think I dropped him / he tripped and got right back up. Round 2, though, started picking it up late in the round. Then round 3, it was kind of I had to finish him. I knew I was down the 2 rounds, and I had to go out on my shield, and I couldn't quite get him to stop coming forwards. But that there was that second in there where I think it was like 55 unanswered strikes or something. I couldn't land that sweet spot.
Yeah, but you definitely, if you were to fight him again, I think you'd probably knock him out in the first round because those 50 unanswered strikes, I mean, if this was a video game, that chin meter would be diminishing as we speak, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what? Maybe. I definitely would go in with a little bit different game plan. I have decided I need to start checking kicks, too, after that fight. And so I've been working a lot on that.
Yeah, it's definitely good to check some kicks, some Muay Thai 101. Now, you mentioned how you're so used to going 5 rounds. I mean, you were the champion in MFC. Now, why don't you talk to me a little bit about the difference between being ready for a 5-round fight and a 3-round fight? I mean, do you purposely start slower? Because I know you are a slow starter by nature, but for a 5-round fight, I mean, is it almost like an extra comfort knowing that you have those 2 extra rounds?
Yeah, a 5-round fight, I throw the first round away. If I win it, awesome. If I don't win it, it doesn't matter to me. I just try and find that distance in that first round. And I've done pretty well. I have, it's an interesting stat, I have the latest stoppage in MMA history with I believe it was when I won the title. There's 4 seconds left in a 25-second fight, or 25-minute fight. And I got the knockout then.
Holy shit. That's badass, man.
Yeah, I'm proud of that one.
Your boy Demetrius Johnson, I think, did he break it when he tapped out Horiguchi? I don't remember off the top of my head.
He got a tap. I got a finish.
There you go. There you go.
Got a knockout.
Yeah, we favor knockouts over here, so I'll give you that, my man. So next up, you take on Dylan Andrews. Now, this is kind of funny because a lot of people, they don't notice the little nuances that are going on in that fight. They think, they make a lot of excuses for him and say that, he knocked himself out, which in actuality, you hooked the leg when he was going for that takedown, and then you reversed the position. So to you, I mean, obviously the knockout was beautiful. Is it frustrating at all that people don't notice that little technical nuance you put in there?
No, I hope they don't notice it. Because I'll do it again. I'll let someone take my back so I can knock them out as they try and take me down. I do it all the time in practice. It doesn't bother me that some people don't see it. Some people do, and that's kind of cool when they do.
Yeah, well, I definitely see that stuff, man. And I mean, for you, is that the training that you've done with Dan Hendo? Where'd you learn how to do that? Because that was very slick, my friend.
Yeah, that's just wrestling. Someone gets your back, they're going for that suplex. You hook a leg, you just make it a little more difficult. Now, I didn't do it with the intent of knocking him out. That was a sweet little bonus, but I was doing it to try and either prevent the takedown or end with my hips far enough away that I could end up on top.
So you hook the leg and then you guys fall. And at that moment, did you just feel him release the grip, or?
Yeah, he immediately loosened up on the grip. He wasn't out yet, but he was definitely wobbled. Then I did the little ninja move where I switched hips real quick and finished with some ground and pound.
Yeah, that switch hip to the ground and pound was nasty and devastating, and it was a really good introduction for the fans that have never seen you outside of the UFC or on The Ultimate Fighter to understand the kind of power that Sam Alvey possesses. So, I mean, how good did it feel to get that first UFC victory, man?
It was great. It's off my bucket list. And it's hard to describe the feeling. It's something you put so much time and effort and money and sweat and tears into, and to get it was just incredible.
Yeah, and that fight was in Sydney, Australia. So, I mean, did you go out there early to acclimate? Because I know in the past you fought New Zealand, they're next door neighbors. So, I mean, when you fight that far away, you're such an experienced vet. I mean, how far out do you go?
I think I got there, if I fought on Sunday, Australia time. I got there on like Wednesday. So no, it's no extra time. And honestly, I kind of liked it because the time zone, I was fighting right when I'm wide awake back home anyways. So it was nice. And it was the same thing in Brazil. When I fought in Brazil, I was actually fighting at like 1 a.m. Brazil time. But it was 9 p.m. here in the States. So I felt wide awake and ready for action.
So, do you at all adjust your sleep schedule, or do you stick to what it is normally? Because, like you said, even though it was 9 o'clock in the morning over there, it felt like, nighttime over here.
No, you know what? I've never. I know some people do, but I've always just been pretty comfortable doing it. Just showing up and doing what I do at any time of day, any day of the week. I'm ready to fight.
There you go, man. That's once again why the fans love you, man. So next up, all right, so you take on Dylan Andrews in Australia, and then you take on Cesar Mutanch in Brazil. Like we mentioned, you're taking on all these guys in their hometowns, and obviously, the first couple minutes of the fight, he's doing his thing, and then once you're like, hey, I'm gonna throw that big right hand, you threw that big right hand, you sent him flying across the octagon. First of all, how good did it feel to land that one? Because that was unbelievable, dude.
Yeah, that was a little 1-2 combo there. It felt pretty sweet, especially after the weigh-in. He did that cocky, put his forearm on my throat or something, which I wasn't expecting. You just grinned through it, I guess. And so it felt nice landing those two. And the crowd loved it. It was so great. I walked in and everyone's cheering, oh, you're going to die, but they're Portuguese. And by the time the fight ended, they were cheering my name, and it was wonderful.
Well, you are a very likable character, so when they're screaming, "Oh, va moer," I mean, what does it take to piss you off?
I tell you what, if you want to mess with my kids and wife, that'd be about my line.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm assuming no one wants to do anything remotely close to that, but after the fight, like we mentioned, the Brazilians, they do have a lot of pride. They get behind their guys. Now, real quick, for all the American fans listening, I wish you guys would get behind all the American fighters. But then again, when it is American versus American, you do have to pick sides. But back on the point, I mean, were the Brazilians just did they accept you? Were they happy? Like, because it was a highlight reel KO, man.
Yeah, absolutely. They loved it. That they were just erupting, and afterwards, everyone that spoke English was just patting me on the back, saying, "You're the man." Everyone that spoke Portuguese was talking to my coach, who speaks Portuguese, and telling him to tell me I'm the man. No, they accepted me big time. Twitter erupted after that one, and I was blessed to be down there, and I hope to fight in Brazil again.
Yeah, for all the people that didn't speak English, they were all saying "boa, boa." Yeah, man, I love the Brazilians, man. They're passionate and great knockout. Now, next up, you took on Dan Kelly back in Australia. Or was it New Zealand or Australia?
That was Australia.
Okay, yeah, so back in Australia. And I actually interviewed Dan Kelly last week on Half the Battle. Dude, he's a gentleman, man. He's such a cool guy, and he had nothing but nice things to say about you. He said that that's the hardest he's ever been hit in his life. He says he regrets throwing a kick on the southpaw. Now, from your perspective, was it just about capitalizing on that kick he threw, or did you have something planned out beforehand?
Well, it's kind of funny. Actually, leading into that fight, I had torn my LCL. So it had to be that, because I couldn't go to the ground because I didn't know if I'd be able to stand back up. And it was he came at me, which was awesome because I don't know how much I could have moved around either. And he was just, it just landed. It was just one of those punches. He threw the wrong thing, and I threw the right thing, and it worked out all right. He was just a phenomenal athlete. That's why I had actually called him out after the Cesar fight. He's the one I wanted to fight. I met him when I fought Dylan Andrews, and he just seemed like a nice guy. And I want to fight my friends. I want to help make them money, have them help me make my money. Which is another reason I thought Theodorou would be a good one. As cocky and as happy as he is with himself, I just think I'd like him if we were to hang out.
Yeah, definitely. And I really admire the fact that you're willing to fight your friends, because with a lot of these guys, they're like, oh, we're friends, we can't fight. Whereas I'm like, dude, if you offered me $100K to fight my brother, dude, we would both take that shit in a second. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. The only one I think I wouldn't fight is Jesse Taylor. And that's just because I think I'd lose.
But you see, in my opinion, now, I'm not a fighter, but from my perspective, there's etiquette when you fight your friends. For example, if you knock them out, you don't throw that follow-up punch. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah. If it doesn't need to be done, I won't do it. But yeah, if they get that lucky shot on me, I would be the same guideline. If it doesn't need to be done, why bother doing it? No false tapping if I get a submission. No trying to hide the tap on my leg. Just be a gentleman with it. But that's kind of how I am with everyone.
Oh yeah, no Brazilian tapping, as they like to say. But but what I'm trying to say here is that, for example, with Cesar Mutanchi, you guys weren't boys as far as I know. And, he put his hand in your throat. You threw that follow-up punch, no problem. It's not like you guys are friends, but, for example, you said you like Elias. Let's say you land a big right hand on him, and it's over. You're not going to throw that follow-up, though.
It depends on how well I know it's over. If I know it's over, in his defense, he's got a hell of a chin, so I probably won't know it's over with him.
Yeah, not only does he have a hell of a chin and a poker face, dude, the guy can take a body kick too. Because as we mentioned earlier on that show, that dude Thiago Moreta Santos, that guy can kick so damn hard. I was blown away that Elias hung tough in there.
Yeah, he looked great. He got cut in that one, but he looked all right.
Yeah, that cut was serious shit, man. So, all right. So you take care of Kelly, and then after the fact, I mean, you guys were cool because he's a gentleman. Everything was all good.
Yeah, everything was cool. Talked to his coaches, talked to him a little bit. They said, "Yeah, good fight, good punch," and and I've been rooting for him every fight so far. His last fight was incredible, man. That was the fight of the night for me. I was on my feet cheering on my TV so loud. It was so cool to see him come back and get that win.
Yeah, he's such a badass, and the way he put away that 25-year-old when, this dude's 38. It's funny, everyone counts him out in every single fight. The guy's like 11-1. He's a true winner. You're his only loss. I'm like, why do they count him out every time? Do you know? He says it's because he looks a little bit awkward and looks older, but the numbers speak for themselves, right, Sam?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's been to the Olympics 3 or 4 times. You can't count him out. When I fought him, I was incredibly worried. Even though my knee was jacked up, but I was, even before that, I knew I had to be on point because I knew if I gave him an inch, he would take a mile.
So after that fight, you take on Brunson in Nashville. Now the fight didn't go your way, but I want to know a couple things about that fight. First of all, what did you learn from that fight?
I just froze. I tried to call his bluff. First, I knew he was going to take me down. I knew it was going to be a wrestling match. I knew it was going to. Me coming off 3 first-round knockouts and him being a wrestler, I knew he was going to wrestle me. So when that stupid jerk punched me, caught me off guard. But I got caught flat-footed, and I do it every now and then too much, and it's not going to ever happen again. But I'm usually convinced I can land a punch before they do, even if they throw it first. And he just caught me clean. Wobbled me, and you know what? He kicked my butt for 2.5 minutes, but it was a terrible stoppage. When was it Yamasaki? When Yamasaki stopped the fight, I was fine. I was on my way back up, and it drives me nuts. But just because I was fine then doesn't mean he wouldn't have continued to kick my butt for the rest of that round. But at that stoppage it was way early.
And let me ask you this: how hard does Derek hit?
It was a good punch. Of the flurry he was throwing at me, it was only the first one that really got me. Even the uppercut didn't hurt that bad. That first one caught me and put me on my heels for the next bunch of the round.
But you train with Dan Hendo every single day. Compared to Dan Hendo's right hand,
It's not Dan Hendo's. No, and you know what? Every punch is different, but Dan hits on a different level of hard.
Yeah, Dan's one of those guys where you probably block with your forearm and you feel it in your brain, right?
Yeah.
That's funny, man. And speaking of Yamasaki, I don't normally throw shade, but I'm gonna throw a little bit of shade on this guy because you remember that Eric Silva versus Carlo Prater fight where he DQ'd him? Yeah. Dude, that was one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. He's just, and he stops stuff too early, too often. He's just not a great judge. And I liked him. He actually called me a week later, and we FaceTimed, and he said, "Listen, I'm sorry I stopped it so early. My goal is always fighters' health. It's always my first choice, but I shouldn't have stopped it just then."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In his opinion, he made a mistake.
Yes, and he called. We FaceTimed. He apologized, and he was all right. I accepted the apology, and I'll do my best not to have him ref my fight again.
Yeah, there you go, man. And for you personally, obviously you didn't like how it went down. Would you rather it go down how it went down, or would you rather have someone like a Dan Mergliotta who will, he won't stop a fight until it's too late?
Don't ever stop a fight. Never. Don't ever stop it. He said, my corner wants it stopped. They can throw in a towel. If it looks like I've died, feel free to stop it. Don't ever stop at anything short of me dying. I am completely aware. I'm an intelligent adult who trains this every day. Don't ever stop it because you think I'm in a bad spot. If I'm getting beat up so bad that it's boring to the audience, okay, I will let you stop it then, because then I'm hurting the audience. But anything shy of that, I don't want you stopping. I'm completely aware of why I'm stepping into a cage to have someone beat me up.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Elias isn't really known for his one-punch knockout power, but then again, you can never underestimate anyone in the UFC because they are in the UFC for a reason. So, I mean, are you going to make a personal note to tell the ref, hey, don't stop this shit, if I'm in trouble until I'm dead?
I have told every ref I've ever had that. I even told Yamasaki that before the Brunson fight. So listen, my game plan is to get beat up a little bit. Don't stop it. And he stopped it.
Yeah, there you go, man. So can I ask you for a couple of fight predictions? Because I know you're on top of what's going on in the middleweight division.
Sure, let's hear it.
All right, so we're only going to talk fights in the middleweight division. Obviously, I already asked you about Dan Hendo versus Machida, but I want to ask you about Robert Whittaker versus Rafael Natal because, dude, Robert Whittaker, I'm very impressed with this guy. In my opinion, he could be a future champion. I want to know your thoughts on Natal versus Whittaker.
I'm going to go with Whittaker. He has been impressing me big time, and he's on my list of people I want to fight because, again, I think that's a fight that will win me an extra $70,000. On top of getting me into the top 10. But he's impressive. He hits maybe harder than I do. And he's pretty jacked up too. So I'm pulling for Whittaker and I think he'll get it.
Yeah, it's interesting to see these guys that are moving up a weight class and they're having so much success. You see Robert Whittaker, you see Dustin Poirier. They were already good at their former weight classes, but now that they're fully fed, fully hydrated, I mean, the results are speaking for themselves.
Yeah, and his last fight was against Uriah Hall, right?
Yeah,
and he just impressed the heck out of me. I had Uriah to win that, and by the end of the first round, I saw it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, and actually on that topic, you did the same thing because you tried to fight at 170, and I mean, you knocked some dudes out, but you said the cut was real rough, right?
Yeah, well, it wasn't even that I tried to fight at 170. It's the UFC called and said, hey, we'll put you on tough if you can make 170. I said, okay, I'll do it. and it was, I never had any intention of fighting 170. I'll never do it again unless it means I have a job.
Right, there you go. Well, I hope you stay at 185 because, I mean, that's the perfect weight class for you.
Oh, yeah, I'll be 185. I'd be happy to fight 205, and if ever someone wants to see me at heavyweight, I'll go there too.
Yeah, so next fight prediction, we got Tamden the Barn Cat McRory, and he's taking on Krzysztof Jotko. And this kid Jotko, he's flying under the radar, man. A lot of people don't know about him, but I know about him. Do you know about Jotko?
I do not.
Do you know about Tamden McRory?
I do not.
Damn. Okay, well, you got to look out for these two because they're two up-and-comers in your weight class that are they're making waves, man. So look out for Jotko versus McRory. And it's
all right, yeah. I'll look into that right away.
And I think it's actually on, if I'm not mistaken, it might be on the same card that you're fighting on, so we'll see.
Oh, cool. Oh, sweet. Well, then I will see him.
Yeah. Well, I know for a fact you got an opinion on this fight. Luke Rockhold versus Chris Weidman, the title you're coming for.
Oh, I'm so torn on that one. I loosely picked Weidman to win the first one. But I wasn't going to be surprised if Rockhold won. And now I think I'm going to stick with Weidman, but it's I wouldn't put $1 on it. I wouldn't bet $1 because I just, Rockhold is so good, but then so is Weidman. And Weidman lost the first fight on just such a stupid spinning heel kick.
Dude, I couldn't believe it. It was.
Oh, you're going to throw that on a guy who's 4 inches taller than you and you're going to throw it the wrong direction?
Yeah, and you're going to throw it when you've never thrown it in your entire career.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with Weidman, but it wouldn't surprise me if Rockhold won.
Yeah, Rockhold's an absolute monster. It wouldn't surprise me either. I'm going to go with Weidman too, though, and he's the underdog. So if the price is right, maybe take that shot on the dog.
Yeah. See what he can do, and I think he'll have a smarter game plan this time.
Yeah. Now in this next fight, I want you to predict. We got. I don't know if I want to call him an up-and-comer, but he's only had a couple fights in the UFC. Vitor Miranda. He's taking on Chris Camozzi, who's a vet. And Camozzi, he's starting to find his groove. And Vitor Miranda, I mean, this dude, he's obviously a world champion kickboxer, and now he's coming into the UFC. He's stuffing dudes' takedowns, and he's knocking them out with head kicks. You know about these two guys?
I know Camozzi pretty well, and the other boy, not so much. But I'm going with Camozzi. I'm a fan of his.
Yeah, I mean, Kamosi, I met him in Nashville, actually. He fought on the same card as you. Very nice guy. So I'd be rooting for him as well. But the thing with Vitor Miranda, check him out when you get a chance, man. He's a scary individual.
Yeah, no, I will do.
Once again, it's funny. I'm going between the fights with the relatively, newcomers to the vets and the super fights. So, speaking of vets and super fights, we got Jacare versus Vitor Belfort. I mean, and it's in Brazil. Doesn't get any better than that. So, obviously, Jacare is a huge favorite. Is it worth taking a shot on Vitor Belfort? Because in my opinion, he can knock out anyone on planet Earth.
Yeah, the problem with Vitor is he's only got one round in him. And then his heart breaks, and he's so easy to work with the rest of the time. And Jacare is so strong for the whole time. So I'm going Jacare as well. I don't think it'll be first round, but I could easily see it second, third round.
Now, you've wanted to fight Uriah Hall for a very long time. Before we talk about his next matchup, talk once again about how, you wanted to fight these tough winners and people you consider your friends. Talk about how you wanted to fight Uriah Hall for a while.
Yeah, Uriah's a good dude. I met him once or twice. We never really talked, but he always seemed like a hardworking, just good MMA artist. And I would be honored to step in the cage with him. It'll happen someday, I'm sure. We're both, I think we both have 5 or 6 fights right now, and we're both climbing the rankings slowly but surely. He just broke into the top 10 with that huge win. Although his fight against Silva, it's going to be tough for him. Silva is... When Silva wants to be, he's just as good as he gets.
Yeah, here's my thing with that fight. So, obviously, I tend to favor the younger guys against the aging vets, but the thing is, Uriah's fighting the guy that he made his style after. He idolized this guy. I'm sure growing up he had a poster of Anderson Silva in his room. So, what's it going to be like fighting his hero?
Yeah, and that's the other thing about Uriah Hall. It kind of depends on who shows up. Sometimes he's just on fire. He's got that right mindset. And this time, if he idolizes him so much, he might not come out with that killer instinct. But then again, he might come out with the spinning heel kick and just knock him out.
Yeah, so with that said, it's like I feel like Anderson has more of a will to win, but I also feel like his chin might be more diminished than Uriah. So I don't know if he can take the same amount of damage that Uriah can.
Yeah, it was Silva was never known for his super chin. He just never got hit. I mean, he'd stand there with his hands down and dodge, flurries of 10. So it kind of not a spinning heel kick hits you, you're going down. I don't care how good your chin is.
Yeah,
it's whether or not it can land on Silva that makes it so different.
But what about
so hard to read?
What about the hands though? Because I feel like it might be a good idea to throw some hands on Anderson.
You know what? Watching that Bisping-Anderson fight, it's not a bad idea to throw the hands. Bisping was having a lot of luck with those punches and bunches. Uriah doesn't really do the punches and bunches. He's more of a 1-2 kind of kick kind of guy. So if you're going to throw that few, I don't know. But then Uriah's got that huge range too. It's a fun fight. I'm looking forward to it.
So if you had to make a pick right here, right now on Half the Battle.
I will never bet against Silva, so I'm going to Silva.
All right, Sam Alvey.
You put Silva versus Weidman again, I'm picking Silva.
yeah, it's funny. I got a lot of shit for becoming a Weidman fan after he knocked out Silva. And it's not like I stopped being a Silva fan. I just gained a lot of respect for Weidman because for me, before the fight, I was like, yeah, if he's going to win, he's going to wrestle him, this and that. And he goes out there and fights him like a man. And then after the fact, he was super classy. So I was like, how can you not like this dude? He just knocked out the baddest man on the planet.
Yeah, and then Silva was clowning a lot too, and he still took him out.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. So, last fight prediction before we get out of here, man. And we've been talking about this dude all show. Thiago Moreta Santos is taking on Nate Marquardt in Brazil. Who you got?
Oh, you know what? It may be a bad choice, but I'm going with Marquardt. He was my coach on Tough. And so I don't want to bet against him. He's got all the tools to beat anyone, but I don't want to bet against him. Yeah,
Marquardt's actually really damn good. A lot of people don't give him the credit he deserves. It's just, he's got all the techniques, all the physical capabilities. It's just a matter of showing up on fight night. But when you talk about this guy Thiago Moreta, I mean, like we said, that body kick is just you cringe when you hear the crack of that body kick. You know what I mean, Sam?
Oh yeah. I've been kicked in the body once or twice, and Never by anyone quite like him.
Yeah, so you said, I know you're not looking past Elias, but you're down to fight anyone in that division. Have you been eyeing Thiago Moreta for a while?
You know what? I've only seen his one fight against Elias.
Oh, okay.
Coming up to the fight, I'm sure I'll do a lot more film watching on everybody. So I get my next call out ready.
For sure, yeah. Let me tell you this. Okay, so you only seen the fight with Elias. His fights before that, dude, he was knocking guys out with head kicks, body kicks, and it was like within like a minute of the fight, and it's just the loudest crack you've ever heard in your life. So go back and check it out on Fight Pass, man. Thiago Santos is a beast.
Oh, I definitely will.
For sure, man. So a couple fan questions. So is it true your wife won America's Next Top Model?
She sure did. Cycle 11.
Wow, that's unbelievable, man. Congrats.
She is pretty wonderful.
Yeah, man. And this one's funny. What toothpaste do you use? Because maintaining the pound-for-pound best smile in the UFC can't be easy.
I use whatever toothpaste wants to sponsor me. And that toothpaste is the best toothpaste ever.
Yeah, and Whiskey Sour wants to know, when was the last time Smilin' Sam genuinely laughed out loud?
It happens all the time. I'm my own best critic. I will kind of start thinking something, and I'll get myself crying, laughing so hard. My wife thinks it's hilarious because I'll kind of start saying something, and I'll just run it through in my head, and I'll be crying with laughter before she knows what's going on.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you're not looking past Elias, but besides Elias, which UFC middleweight do you want to knock out the most?
Michael Bisping, and not that I want to knock him out. I just want to fight him, and I've wanted to fight him for a decade. He was just on my list from the time he fought Matt Hamill. He did not beat Matt Hamill. I don't care what those judges did. They were paid off. He did not beat Matt Hamill. And so Bisping is on my list. It's a fight I want to happen, and I like him. I've trained with him too. He's a nice guy, and he's got that kind of cocky Britishness about him. But it'd be an honor to step in the cage with him.
Oh, look, I just got messaged a question for you as we're doing this interview. And Hari Tarvarian wants to know, at this stage of your MMA career, do you try to work on your weaknesses or just fine-tune your strengths?
I don't have any weaknesses.
My man, that's what we like to hear. I actually want to ask you about that matchup with Bisping because it's such a contrasting style matchup. You know, he's a volume striker. You got that one-hitter quitter. How would you avoid losing that decision? I know, obviously, knock him out. But, I mean, how do you find Michael Bisping? Because he's unbelievable with his movement and his volume.
He is, and it's a fight that will be hard for me, but I'll figure it out. I think Rockhold was onto something when he did it with kicks. He kind of slowed him down a little bit with kicks. And I know I'm not a huge kicker in the ring, but in the practice room I am. And if I can get that coming into the octagon with me, I think I could slow him down a little bit.
Hey, man. Well, Sam, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me right here, right now, on Half the Battle. What's going to go down when you fight Elias in Ottawa?
I tell you what, I'm going to make a lot of Canadian fans. That's what's going to happen.
Awesome, man. Well, you got an American fan in me, and everyone that listens to this show is going to become a fan if they aren't already. Just let the audience know where they can follow you on social media and what's coming up next besides this fight in Ottawa.
Yeah, hit me up. I'm at Smilin' Sam. That's Twitter, Instagram, Vines, Facebook, all that stuff. It's at Smilin' Sam. And I am making a ton of videos kind of poking fun at Elias. I've already got a couple up already, so if you get on there, you'll get to laugh along with everyone else. And yeah, I'm just keeping busy. I work at my gym with the amateur team. I work with a lot of pros too. I'll be cornering Sean Strickland 2 weeks before my fight. And we just, keep your eyes out. I'm always somewhere. Dude,
speaking of your boy Strickland, who's he fighting again?
Breezy.
Oh, he's fighting Breeze. Oh my God, this is going to be great because he's going to be a big underdog, and Breeze is super hyped. So we're going to make a lot of money on Sean Strickland. I cannot wait.
This is a fight that, Sean wanted.
Dude, fuck yeah. I'm really happy you just told me that. And can we talk about your boy Sean for a sec? Because I'm super impressed with him.
Sure, yeah.
And, well, first of all, do you also train with Lorenz Larkin?
Not yet. I would have, but Sean broke my jaw. So I was out for a little bit.
Oh damn. Okay. Well, good that you're back in 100%. So I mean, what's the ceiling on this kid, Sean? Because dude, in his last fight, the way he used his range, his timing, he's really starting to put it together.
Sean is so talented. I mean, it makes me sick. Or stupid kid. He's 24 and he's just good at stuff. He's just got that, and he's got that fighter's mentality too. He wants to go in there and he wants to beat someone up. He doesn't want to outpoint him. He doesn't want to, point spar with him. He wants to beat somebody up. And so it's so much fun working with him. Breeze isn't going to know what he signed up for.
Yeah, Breeze, I mean, I got a lot of respect for him. He's in the UFC. He's gotten the victory every single time, but yeah, he's in over his head on this one for sure. And it's funny because, like we mentioned, Strickland's going to be the underdog because of the hype that Breeze has. So we're all going to cash in. I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, me neither. I'm putting a bunch of money in Sean.
Okay, well, Smiling Sam, I can sit here and talk to you for the next 2 hours, but I will let you go. Thank you so much again for taking the time to speak with me right here, right now on Half the Battle. Best of luck against Elias. And, man, after the fight, we'd love to get you back on the show.
All right, that sounds great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely, man. You have a great day, all right?
All right, you too.
All right, see you, Sam. Everyone tuning in to Half the Battle for the very first time, thank you very much. Subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, and SoundCloud, and make sure you follow me on Twitter at Best Fight Picks. So until the next time, thank you guys very much, and enjoy the fights.